Call the meeting to order. Clerk Paulowitz, did you mind roll call, please?
No problem. Supervisor Hewitt.
Here.
Trustee Page.
Here.
Trustee McGovern.
Here.
Trustee Robinson
Your remote.
and Commissioner Young. I've seen two. Sorry.
I'm here.
There's a quorum.
Thank you. And we'll do pledge of allegiance.
And we
please.
have,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it stands, one nation,
indivisible, with liberty and
with liberty
justice.
and justice for all.
Trustee Robinson, what were you gonna say?
We have a guest, Ann M, who's remote. Could you identify yourself, please, Ann, just for so I can do attendance?
He was planning to do.
Okay. Not sure. Ann, can you identify yourself, please?
And we've been advised that in the future, we need to collect last names before we let people into the room. Because it's not a full.
All right.
Change your name and to your name.
Yeah, your name and your role.
Thank you.
She's not gonna answer.
No.
Okay, then
Yes,
we'll remove you
Yeah.
to the, and if you want to come back in with a full name, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hewitt. Any public comment online?
Oh, let me just share my screen. We don't have any online responses.
Okay, thank you. All right, then, number 5, discussion and possible action on creating language for the temporary township administrator position. I have my copy in front of me. Alexia is copying what I have here, and you all will have it, and we'll go through it. Does anybody have anything to add, say, any?
So, Trustee Page, if I can offer the history on this document? So, when we, when the attorneys recommend that we reach out to GovTemp for resources, I talked to Mike Earl and asked him for position description for this role as well as for some candidates, and he provided a position description that a starting position that was modified, and it was distributed after the December 2023 board meeting. I'd asked Trustee Page to distribute that as chair of the personnel committee. So this document has existed and has been shared with the folks since that time. What has changed since then, I'll just highlight a couple of things. One is the reports too. So as was discussed in the meeting when we talked on Friday, that this position should report to the board. And I've positioned it reports jointly to the board and specifically to the chair of the personnel committee as a representative of the board. So that's what when you see that copy, that is one change from the document that was shared back in December. And that was in response to the discussion that we had when we agreed to go ahead with this agreement. The second change is throughout the document, it wasn't clear. It talked about the supervisor and the board and who had what responsibilities and who this role had to report to. I'd made it explicit that it always says township supervisor and board, whether it be to keep informed or to share information with or to communicate to. Now, that doesn't mean that the supervisor is not part of the board. It's just I wanted to make that very explicit in case there was any confusion as to how this person should interact with all of these, with the board and the supervisor. The last thing, there's one more section, but I want you to have it in front of you before I speak to it. the last is under the last section, the number in your copy is 15, but there's a 16 now. It performs other duties as assigned by the supervisor. It wasn't clear who that, it just said performs other duties as assigned. So I expanded that actually based on guidance from council, the township attorney, as assigned by the supervisor. I would say as assigned by the chair of the personnel committee, or as assigned by a majority of the township board members. This is just to make sure that this person isn't getting, directions from all sorts of different angles as to who can request things. So those are the three things I want to highlight. The last is number 7, and I want to wait till you have that in front of you. But the final wording on that before you have that in front of you.
We have it.
Do you? Okay, cool. So the intent here, one of the reasons that we want this role is to help us manage expenses, is the way I feel that we sort of got to this decision. And part of it is to say that this role has responsibilities to be consulted on major township service requests and township purchase requests to help manage expenditures within township budget levels. The wording is this will particularly apply to requests by the supervisor or board members for external consulting and legal matters, where practical, services beyond general requests for routine legal advice or township related legal matters. So this is some of the things I know we were concerned about, whether it be the procurement policies that are being drafted, things like that. So, not precluding either the supervisor or trustees reaching out to the legal for regular consultation advice. But if there's something that's going to take a significant amount of time, that be brought to the attention and consulted with this person. Because since we're practical, the interim township administrator will draft policy or procedure documents, prepare board packet documents, procurement documents, or other township documents subject to final review by the township attorney. And the interim township administrator will notify the supervisor and the board of significant expenditures requests as they are received. So again, this was added sort of as an outcome from our meeting last week when we said this person and this role is to help us manage expenses and to take a lot of the responsibility for drafting of documents that we're currently paying outside counsel to do. So that's what has changed from what was distributed in December. And again, it was in alignment with some of the guidance that was given by the board when we met on Friday to approve engagement with the GovTemps or GovHR. And this is our document. So if there's other things that people want to make sure that we highlight or we call out, the important thing is to make sure this role can be successful, that it integrates well with our staff and with our personnel and with all of us and with the supervisor and the highway commissioner, the assessor, and the clerk. So anything else that people have issue with or would like to include or exclude from what's been drafted so far?
I had only highlighted one thing, as I read through this afternoon, under number 9, terminate, the line terminates employees as necessary. Should board approval be included with that?
Certainly.
Okay.
Certainly. I would agree completely. So
Okay,
let me
thank
see where
you.
that is.
Middle of the paragraph, trustee Robinson.
Disputes. Okay. Okay. Subject to, do you want to make all of that entire sentence? Resolves problems with staff or between staff and the public, councils and resolve staff.
Yeah.
As necessary, subject to board approval.
Yes, please, yes. That would be
Okay.
mine. Or yes.
I'm not sure if we have established board parameters for salary increases. So is that with board approval as well?
What did
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't have
Well, that, I thought you were putting with board approval at the very end.
for the whole thing.
Yeah,
Or maybe put it at the beginning with.
yeah.
board.
It sounds better at the beginning.
Okay.
well titled.
So if we're in agreement, it would be better sounding it at the beginning,
Um,
so.
Actually, go ahead, sorry.
no, go ahead, trustee Robinson. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I think there's, you may put it in the wrong place, because I think ensures smooth operation township offices, through adequate staff coverage, I think is their responsibility. Supervises and resolves disputes amongst staff and between staff and the public, I think falls within that ballywork. I think subject, and then it would start the one that starts councils. So it's a subject to board approval, councils, disciplines, and terminates employees as necessary. So that would apply only to those actions, not to the other ones about being able to resolve problems among staff. You don't want him having to run to the board to resolve problems among staff.
Exactly,
No,
no,
yeah.
exactly.
Any wage increases would be generally done through with a budget approval at the budget time,
Right.
correct?
Yes,
So it would essentially be a part and have board approval, correct?
But it wouldn't be the, individual, increases. That would be a general
right,
increase.
right. Trustee
So-
Robinson and I were working on that during the budget process. We have, 2023-24 and then projected 24-25 fiscal year.
So is this more performance review stuff or no? Just as necessary? Do we have anything about reviews?
Supervisor Hewitt has been telling me that she has been
Advised
advised
not.
by legal to not provide reviews. Because there are no job descriptions. I am trying hard not to add to our legal bill, so I have
Right,
not reached out
yeah.
myself personally to ask. Doesn't make any sense to me, but we'll get that figured out.
Okay.
And
So-
I again wanted to make sure that everyone was on the same page with that legal advice. And they have advised me that with the township administrator, there needs to be a process for getting reviews. But it needs to be done with the township administrator in hand. So I think that there would be a proposed schedule and a proposed process in which that could be done.
Thank you.
Excellent. So are we talking about this sentence, determines salary increases within township supervisor and board established parameters? Did we want to change that somehow? Or do you think that covers what the intent would be?
I think it covers.
Okay. That's a good catch, trustee, Paige. Thank you for that. Any other thoughts? So any other thoughts, on any other changes you'd like, would help clarify this document? Again, make this person successful and also achieve the objectives for why we feel we need this role at this time.
When your when your edits have been done, if you could, trustee Robinson, I didn't get this. And the one I had printed out was from December
Oh,
23rd.
gosh. Apologies.
So if I could get this, whatever is done, and then add it to the packet so that it's available.
Apologies. Yes, for sure. Thank you. I will do that. And
you.
I will send it to you and to, can I do that? Sorry, sorry, my bad. Yes, I will do that for sure. I'll send it to you and then you can include it in the packet and distribute to all board members.
So the intent is to have the township administrator be the one to purchase, or to, expend the expenditures. Right, he's responsible for the overall financial management, including adoption, implementation, and compliance with rules, regulations, and so forth. I mean, is it the intent that he's the one to place the purchases? Cause on 7, it's suggesting to me that he's just consulted, he's just talked to. What
That's
is
a good
the,
question. How would we like to, how would we like to reword this? That's a great question, Clerk Polowitz.
And on tomorrow's agenda is a purchasing policy. So if we need to amend the purchasing policy, we need to have the wording that you wish so that we can pass the purchasing policy if he needs to be added or their role, their title needs to be added, then we need to add that. So
My input on that would be that this position is intended to be temporary, so I'm not sure that a temporary admin should go on to permanent policy.
and there's that. So,
That's just my opinion. That's spoken without any experience.
No, I think that's a very valid point.
Well, yeah, I think you could put in the job responsibility that the township administrator will serve, will function as the supervisor in the purchasing policy. You could write it that better, but do you follow what I'm saying?
that can't really be, but.
Yeah, I'm
they're
not, yeah.
Supervisor and they're not a signatory and there's a whole lot of probably issues involved with that. So again, that's gonna need to go through Ross and make sure that it's legally compliant. And again, if they're a temporary person in a temporary position, that makes it very difficult.
Well, the intent is that the administrator is the one doing the purchasing. So if it's, so somehow we have to incorporate that,
Okay. Is,
or signing off on the purchasing
right, yeah,
Approval.
right.
approval, that the township administrator would have the approval of all purchases.
So if, let's relate this back to the present time. So right now, for example, we need passport, paper. I'm just taking a very realistic example. We're about to get out of passport paper. Right now, we have a debit card, not a credit card. So, in order for anything to be purchased, and that's partially why a credit card is on the agenda for tomorrow. There needs to be some way to actually purchase with something. And so we need to, come to, you're purchasing, anything that's currently purchased has to be signed off by trustee Robinson right now. If there were a township administrator, then they would be signing any approvals. So instead of going to trustee Robinson for the approval, right, which is where we're at right now, everything would have to be approved by the township administrator, just that's where we're at. So you're getting essentially what you're asking for because nothing can be approved without their approval. Nothing can be purchased already.
Is that because of the policy, the way it's written, Supervisor Hewitt?
Yes,
Or-
and
Okay,
so right now, if I,
You have up to 500, I thought.
even that 500 has to have a signature.
Yes, an approval.
So, right, so
Yeah.
currently, the way that all of this works, so we got box cutters for the food pantry. And in order for that to be approved, I needed to get this from a signature from trustee Robinson. So that's where we're at
Okay.
right now. So anything that is being bought has to, even though it's $26.
So he has to be
No,
added to the signature.
that's not
That's
true.
not true.
Are
I
you
believe
trying
that's what the
to, are
purchasing
you
policy
trying to
says.
purchase it through a credit card?
We don't have a credit card.
Or a debit card or some other way? If you did it ahead of time and you ordered it and it's below the $500.
They
Yeah.
don't take a check. So currently, there are, again, things that do not.
Okay,
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
we can move on,
Right,
we'll
right.
discuss this
We'll,
tomorrow.
we'll do a
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
so it sounds like this should be resolved as part of the purchasing policy, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
So the intent, let's go with the intent then.
Okay,
The intent is what? To have the township administrator sign off on all
Yes.
purchases? That's kind of a question, all purchases that go through this building,
Purchase and service.
services, yeah,
And-
any expenditures. Should have a sign off by the,
So are we saying that's part of the purchasing policy or that's something that should be included in this position description? Because to me, it sounds
Number
more
7?
like a policy.
It's a part of the purchasing policy, frankly, that's what it would end up being, but it's also clarifying the job description.
Okay. So did we want to change any wording in the job description to reflect any of this discussion or discuss it as part of? Go ahead.
Thing is consulted. Is approving. Major township service requests and township purchase requests to manage expenditures within township budget levels. So is approving.
Approve, how about just approve township service requests?
Approve. On major.
Do you want it on major? It's on,
I would say on all, just. Approve
On all
township
statements.
service
Right,
requests.
so that we're
Yeah.
not quibbling over a word, yes, I
Right.
agree.
What's major?
Okay.
You
So-
put it in the purchasing,
Yes,
you need a vote.
We
This
can't
covers
do,
it.
the only thing on our agenda is this.
well, right,
Tomorrow's the purchasing.
tomorrow's the purchasing policy.
But if you put it in here, then you need it in the purchasing policy because this is gonna be temporary.
Correct.
When this ends,
Correct.
you won't need it in the purchasing.
correct.
No,
And at the same time, if this is temporary, then, and if there's not, at the time when something is purchased, a township administrator, then you can also put, goes to the finance chair, something like that.
Yeah, we should not have to legally adjust any resolution.
Okay, agreed.
What you're
So-
saying is his rules, his description shouldn't be in this, it shouldn't
it's
go
not
against
necessary.
what the purchase policy says. And if there's a really good chance that it will.
It'll
So-
allow it to be flexible enough in the purchasing policy that if there isn't a township administrator at some point, that it can still be done.
Yes, there has to be an opportunity to purchase. Is it just saying as simple as that there has to be 2 signatures on purchase requests or 2 approvals? Is that what we're talking about?
So you're essentially, I think we're putting titles and who it is, because 2 approvals is different than who, it's specifically saying whose signatures we're looking for.
Yeah, and I didn't want to, I wanted to sort of keep it out. Because this is temporary, keep it out of this position description and focus on the wording that should be in the purchase that achieves the objectives we want in the purchase policy.
They need to go hand in hand so they don't conflict, is all I'm saying.
Okay? So,
And he
but
needs to know that his
go ahead.
role
So
is-
how did we want to word this number 7 then?
Instead of his consultant major, the intent is.
Approves,
Yeah,
if it
yeah,
just
yeah.
changes that one word,
Temporary,
approve. Instead of consulted, just put approves.
Approves, and it should be all or major.
Yeah, approve township service requests. How about approve township expenditures? Oh, so I apologize. Approve township service requests and township purchase requests to manage
Okay.
it, manage expenditures within township budget levels. Perfect.
Okay, so I'll take the word is consulted on major and change it to approves. Township, and I'll go to approves township service requests and township purchase requests. Okay, cool. Good discussion, thank you.
Okay, number 16.
Right,
Performs other duties as assigned by the supervisor, chair of the personnel committee, or majority of the township board members. I don't want him to get bogged down by someone giving him a lot of other assignments. That would interfere maybe or negate what the other job descriptions
Okay.
are. Perform other duties as needed. I do understand what I'm saying first off.
I don't think this is too much. Because it's a majority, it's a quorum of the members and.
Well, it's saying or, so you might want to do and then. Because it could be you know, Jean could say, hey, I want, or trustee Page, sorry, could
Oh,
say, hey,
you
I
could
want you to
override.
do this, this, this,
Right.
this, this, this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
So
So-
change to and,
I don't know,
it
But
it can
he's-
be by the supervisor or chair of the personnel committee and a majority of the board. Cause it doesn't need all of us
he is reporting to you, right?
to the board and
Uh,
me, yeah.
And then to you personally, or, you know, as the role.
her role, that role.
So maybe it is you. Or the board,
So
or the
chain of
majority of the
command.
board. Because that's who who he's reporting to.
I think including the word and instead of or maybe helps then to stop that.
Okay,
Because discussion will happen and we can figure out pretty quick if something looks like it's maybe growing a little bit too big.
got it.
All right, so the request is to change in the second sentence, change the word or to and.
Yes,
Okay, perfect. And I agree.
okay. I very much appreciate your work on this,
Yeah.
trustee Robinson, very, very, very much. I really totally appreciate your experience.
No, it's fun. It's been a group effort. So it's a lot of good people put their heads around this. So the next step would be to present, to vote this, it's your meeting. To make a motion to recommend this, and then we vote on it in tomorrow night's board meeting, correct?
Yes, does anybody?
Yeah, that's on the-
Well, this is on the agenda, yes. Does anybody else have anything else to add, questions?
Yes.
Okay,
In addition, in in all of your packets is an employee leasing agreement. And that's the contract with that enables us to hire him. And we need to we have two choices. The first choice is if you believe that this is you want me to sign this, I will sign this. If you believe that we need to have a special meeting to discuss this contract, then we need to have a special meeting to discuss this before that is signed. Which means that it'll then, we need to wait until this is signed before he can start. So if you all want to schedule a special meeting and do that,
This now?
but there's some things
Yeah,
in
I'm
here.
not- Yeah.
Okay.
Just wanted to,
if everybody doesn't mind reading it, trustee Robinson, do you have access to a copy of this?
No.
I think that this was this not attached to the email from GovTemp?
It was the original one, and then they put in the details.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
So it's the same as.
Yeah.
the original
what you
one,
forwarded
so
to me.
there's,
Okay, so I've read it already.
And Supervisor Hewitt, I appreciate you dotting the i's and crossing the t's. I thought we voted to approve you to sign this contract in the meeting last Friday.
and that's what I'm in an abundance of caution, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Okay.
That I don't want to sign something that you're not in approval of, so I'm
Okay.
just, and before it is signed, I just want to make sure that you're in agreement with this.
Okay, so the changes that we're just simply adding in the details of who we are hiring.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, there was a couple things that we wanted changed. On the.
So-
On the agreement, was there not?
There were some questions, and so on the last page, on 13, is where it is very likely that we could have more discussion on this. It isn't on the agenda. I didn't get this until this afternoon. And I can, again, we can schedule a special meeting if you wish. But the piece to note is it requires 2 weeks of 2 weeks notice. But at the same time,
And that was the point that trustee Geis brought up. So my experience, that's standard language. This contract was reviewed by both councils, the attorneys or the trustees and township. I mean, fundamentally, we can just say we don't need you. Uh, because he works the hours we request him to work, is my understanding. So even though the contract may run for another 2 weeks, we can just say, don't come in, right? I mean, I think you as supervisor and the chair of the personnel committee can just say, you won't come in, so we're not going to incur any additional charges. So I understand what the intent was. And is the term, I thought when we first was talking, the term was 3 months. Is that in there, or is it open-ended?
It's an open, the point is that with given 2 weeks notice, it can be ended early. So say
Mhm.
2 months from now, or a month from now, we wish to end it. Then with 2 weeks notice, and almost every contract that we're gonna sign is gonna have a time of notice that is required. And so again, if we're not asking him to be here, there's not gonna be charges incurred. So it's to some extent, it's a moot point. We're not paying by the 3 month period. We're paying by the hour of when he is here.
Okay.
Based on our request for him to come and services to provide, correct?
Yeah, it's fiscally it's much more fiscally responsible than paying out a 3-month contract.
Yeah.
I agree.
Is this a new addition into this exhibit A? Either party may terminate the agreement at any time by providing 2 weeks advance written notice.
I just have had less
Oh.
than two, I
Yeah,
don't believe
probably
so, but I haven't gone through this with a fine tooth comb, looking for differences
Okay.
between the two documents.
I remember that was the original. That was the original wording.
Okay,
The full board has to approve the authorization to hire.
We
We
did.
did,
The full board did?
We did.
Yes.
This individual?
Yes. Mhm.
Oh,
after the
Yeah,
executive
we wrote
session.
it and yeah.
I don't think you were here. I think
You were on-
think you were absent. You might have been on Zoom.
Well,
You were on
It was
Zoom.
wavering, yeah, you were on Zoom
Right.
and it was wavering in and out, but we did.
well, they should, then that, you've approved it.
We're done.
I agree. I'm just wanting to make sure that we're all on the same page before I sign it.
Let's
Yeah.
sign it.
Yeah, thank you.
Paragraph 6. That pertains to the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, directing the supervisor to implement or to direct to follow the Government Standards Board. That would include capitalization of,
Sorry, what page are we on?
Are these the roles
It's on
or
it's
the?
on the description.
Oh,
The description,
Number 6?
Number 6. Responsible for overall financial management, including implementation and compliance with rules and regulations promulgated by the Government Accounting Standards Board. The Government Accounting Standards Board requires capitalization of your assets and infrastructure. We have not done that. It would be very expensive to do. So I don't think you want to direct him to include that as part of his duties.
Okay, good catch. Thank you.
I
So,
agree.
Government Financial Officers Association should be left in?
I would take out the whole paragraph.
Really?
Yes,
Responsible for overall financial management, including the adoption and implementation and compliance with rules and regulations promulgated by state statute and general accounting practices.
You could put it in just best practices. I don't think you want to take out that his review of internal accounting controls and such, that he wouldn't come forward and make recommendations
Right.
to say, I suggest that you do this.
Responsible for overall financial management, including adoption, implementation, and compliance.
How about if I look at this tonight and email everybody something tonight? Okay,
Did you hear that, trustee
so,
Robinson?
so is that proper for the highway department who isn't a board member, on voting board member to, go, anybody, again, can have, can make edits, and so isn't trustee Page and trustee Robinson taking ownership of that, and so if you have any edits, you can send them to all of us.
that's what,
Great, so,
that's what I said.
no, you said that you would review it and, send us.
I
what
don't think we
you
need to
think.
make it complicated.
Yeah, I
No.
would either leave it in or modify
I wanna
it?
take it out.
I'd like to get it done
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, I want to get it done today, and I
So if you,
defer to your experience.
Like,
So-
I don't even know what that
No,
means.
exactly, because I have no idea what it is, so if you, it's fine.
The the government accounting standards. I know that government accounting is very sideways. It's very different.
When we get the audit report, the opinion from the auditor, it says it's qualified,
Okay.
right? Because we don't capitalize and depreciate our assets.
Okay.
We don't do anything with the infrastructure, okay? Then on the other part of it, they say it's all okay, they give you a clean thing. If you followed what the accounting board says, you would have to go back and capitalize those assets. Would have to go out and get appraisals of what they're worth.
Okay.
Estimate depreciation and all that. We have done most of the time, well, some, it's about 50-50. Had not done, it's very expensive, it really doesn't serve much of a purpose. So we don't want him to do that. We do want him to make recommendations if he sees something that, for example, in an internal accounting controls, he says this is a breach of internal accounting controls. We want him to bring that to you and say, hey, you should do this differently to institute this control.
Okay.
so if you,
I appreciate the catch. You know, I'm not as conversant with the accounting standards boards. How about if we change, how about this wording? Responsible for overall financial management, including adoption, implementation, and compliance with relevant rules and regulations, semicolon. Ensuring fiscal responsibility through appropriate financial management practices and procedures.
great,
Yeah,
Yep.
That's fine.
I agree with that, yeah, thank you.
Good. It's been a great discussion. Appreciate it. Again, it's a team effort. I appreciate participation and input.
Is anybody else?
No, I
Anything
think
to-
we're good with,
Okay,
lease.
all right, yeah, so about the leasing agreement, we've already gone over it, I'm fine with it. I don't feel like we need to have another special meeting to cover it, it looks like it's all in order. And we're gonna cover this tomorrow night. With the position description, I'm satisfied with the discussion we've had, everything that we've gone over and the little bit of changes that we've had to make. Anybody else have something to add? An opinion on it?
No, but I'd like to make a motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the position description with the edits that we agreed to, including a reworking of section 6 as I just outlined, changing start of section 7 to say approves township service requests. And then in number 9, add the word subject to board approval before this section. Council's disciplines and terminates employees as necessary. And under number 16, in the second sentence, change the word or to and. I can make all those changes and send them to the supervisor. And I'll send them under separate cover to the chair of the personnel committee, and then between the two of you can decide who can distribute to the other board members.
Second,
So
that,
do you want to call a roll call vote?
Sure, Trustee Robinson,
Yes,
you wanna call it? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
you
Trustee
should do
McGovern?
it. Trustee Page, you should do it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm used to you.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I should do it. I'm doing secretary. I'm sorry. Duh. Yes, I approve. Supervisor Hewitt?
yes,
Okay, thank you. Supervisor or trustee Page,
Yes.
Trustee McGovern?
yes,
Great. Okay, motion by me, second by McGovern. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
and second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you
Good
all.
meeting.